Hi. Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to go through centimeters to millimeters, kilometers to meters, and basically just like a quick recap on times in by 10, times in by 100, times in by 1,000. Okay, so basically, if you've got something like 32.45 and you were to times that by 10, what you would do is you would basically look at the zero, what you times them by, and then there's 1 0. So basically, you times them by 10, so that means the number gets bigger. So you move the decimal point one place to the right. Okay, so here, that one there would be 324.5 when you times that 32.45 by 10. Okay, similarly, if you had something like 4,135.683 and you were to times that by 100, you've now got 2 zeros. So the 2 zeros basically means that you move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So that one will go 1, 2. So then that would give you 413568.3 or 413,568.3 times by 1,000. So if we had something like 42.4 and we were to times that by 1,000, we've now got 3 zeros. So that means that we move the decimal point 3 places to the right. So it would go 1, 2, 3. Now, under each of these little jumps, you put a 0. So what it would be is 424, and then you've got 0, 0. So it would turn into 42,400. Okay, so now let's kind of go on to divides now. Now, if you times, you move the decimal point to the right. If you divide, you move it to the left. So if we had something like 357.48 and we were to divide that by 10, again you've got 1 0, so all you do and you're dividing, so the number's getting smaller, so what you would do is move the decimal point 1 place to the left. So now that becomes 35.748. Similarly, if you were to divide by 100, what it would be is 4193 divided by 100. You've got 2 zeros and you're dividing, so you move the decimal point 2 places to the left. So the decimal point is here. So what it would go is 1, 2. So it would go 41.93. Next one, and we'll just do one more with the dividing by 1,000. So let's go for 3.458 divided by 1,000. So you've got 3 zeros after the decimal point. So you move and you're dividing, so you move the decimal point 3 places to the left. So it'll go 1, 2, 3, and then the decimal point goes there. So it would be 0 point, so that's that 0 point, and then you've got 0, 0, 3, 4, 5, 8. Okay, so I'll give you a quick one to do and give you about 30 seconds to do it. Give you one of each at times and a divide. Okay, so let's go for 4.27 times 500 and 32.485 divided by 1,000. Okay, so you've got about 30 seconds. So first one is 4.27 times by 1,000, times by 100. And then the second one is 32.485 divided by 1,000. Okay, so you've got 2 zeros and you're timesing, so the decimal point would move to the right. So you've got 427, and then you move it 2 places because you've got 2 zeros, 1, 2. So that one there would be 427. Well done if you got that right. Next one, 32.485 divided by 1,000. So you've got 3 zeros and you divide, so you're moving the decimal point to the left and you're moving it 3 places because there's 3 zeros. So you've got 32485. The decimal point was between the 2 and the 4. So it would go 1, 2, 3. Put the decimal point in, and then underneath the jump, you put a 0. Okay, so well done if you managed to get those 2 right. Now let's move on to metric units. Okay, so metric units, basically, what we're after here is centimetres to millimetres. Now, basically, if you had like 3 centimetres, to get to millimetres, you would times by 10. Because there's 10 millimetres in a centimetre. So therefore, there would be 30 millimetres in 3 centimetres. Okay. Next one. So, and then if you were to go from millimetres back to centimetres, you would divide by 10. Okay. Next one, centimetres to metres. Okay. So if you had something like 130 centimetres, now there's 100 centimetres in a metre. So to go from the small unit to the big unit, you divide by 100 because there's 100 centimetres in a metre. So therefore, if you divide by 100, the decimal point is there. And then from earlier on, if you divide, you move it to the left and you move it how many zeros you've got. So go 1, 2. So 130 centimetres would be 1.3 metres. So hopefully we're all okay with that. Now to go from metres to the smaller unit, we would times by 100. And again, if you times by 100, your decimal point is between the 1 and the 3. And then if you times, you move it to the right. And then you've got 2 zeros, so you move it 2. So the decimal point goes there. So it'll be 130 centimetres. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go from metres to kilometres. So metres to kilometres. Now the prefix kilo means 1,000. So there's 1,000 metres in a kilometre. So if you had something like 4,100 metres, and to go from that into kilometres, you would divide by 1,000. Now, if you divide by 1,000, you move the decimal point to the left, and you move at how many zeros you've got. So here, decimal point is at the end, and then you would move it 3 places to the left. 1, 2, 3. So it'd be 4.1 kilometres. Now to go from the big unit, the kilometres, to metres, yeah, you would have to times by 1,000. So to go from kilometres to metres, you would times by 1,000. So what you've got is you've got 4.1, and then if you times by 1,000, you move the decimal point to the right. So here, oh no, to the right. So basically, decimal point is between the 4 and the 1, and then you move at how many zeros you've got. 1, 2, 3. So then that would be your answer. Okay, so now I know I've gone quite quickly there, but I'm going to give you a couple of questions to do. Hopefully you've managed to copy all that down. Okay, so what I want you to do is to come up with 40 centimetres, 4 centimetres into millimetres. We'll go for 14 centimetres to millimetres. Then we're going to go for 3.5 metres to centimetres. And then we're going to go for 410 centimetres or 2 metres. And then finally, we're going to go for 7,000 metres into kilometres. And then we'll do one more, why not? We're going to go for 0.8 kilometres, 2 metres. Okay, so I'll give you a couple of minutes just to get on with that. Okay, so about 30 seconds left. Okay, so to go from centimetres to millimetres, you would times by 10 because there's 10 millimetres in a centimetre. So what you've got is you've got 14 and then the decimal point is there and then you times by 10, so you would move it one place to the right. So it would be 140 millimetres. Next one, 3.5 metres to centimetres, and again, because centimetres is smaller than a metre, you would times, because you can fit more of them in, and you can cent, like century, there's 100 years in a century, so therefore it's 100. Okay, so what it would be is 3.5 times by 100, so you move the decimal point 2 places, so that would be 350 centimetres. Next one, so you're going from the small unit to the big unit. So you would divide by 100 here. And again, it's centimetres. So what you've got is you've got 410, the decimal point is there, and then you would divide it by 100. So that's the 2 zeros and 100, so you'd move it 2 places, 1, 2. So it would be 4.1 metres. Next one, you're going from metres, which is the smaller unit out of metres and kilometres. So again, you would divide by. Now, kilo, the prefix kilo at the start of a word means 1,000. So you would divide by 1,000. So what you've got is decimal points at the end, 1, 2, 3. So it would equal 7 kilometres. And finally, what you've got is 0.8 kilometres, and you go into the smaller unit. Metres is smaller than kilometres, so you would have to times by 1,000. Kilo means 1,000. So what you've got is you've got 0.8, and then you would move it 3 places to the right. 1, 2, 3. So it would give you 800 metres. Okay, so that's a quick recap as to how you would do those. Hope you found it useful, and I'll see you for the next session.